If getting your finances in order, saving more, being more intentional about your spending habits is on your New Year's resolution list, your intentions for this year, this video is for you. And money is a tough one. So as you start to listen to this, take a deep breath, okay? Money is tough. Getting your finances in order can feel tough. Changing our spending habits can feel tough. And this, isn't just about because, we have habitually, had these habits or had these views about money for a long time. But if you watch any of my previous video around the weight loss and getting healthier, or even the intro video, we operate 95% based on the subconscious mind. So most of your money habits come from your beliefs about money, which were rooted in beliefs that you picked up when you were a kid. Okay. And depending on how old you are, that might be a long time ago. So I want to just say that straight away because there is going to need to be a lot of nervous system regulation, a lot of subconscious reprogramming when it comes to finally getting control of your finances in a way that feels really good to you. And don't let that deter you. That should actually not feel scary, even though it might sound kind of new and you're like, what in the hell does any of that even mean? I say all of that because when I start to share some of these practices and you start to understand kind of like the deeper work involved, it actually makes the rest of it so much easier. And that is like a phenomenal thing. And you'll actually be able to stick with this. You'll actually be able to stick with your goals. So that said, let's dive right in. All right. The first thing I want you to do with your money story, and again, you might be like, I want to just dive right into getting control of my finances and spending less. But the thing is, if you don't understand where some of those money stories come from, it will be harder to break some of those money habits that you've had, right? So I invite you after this video, or even if you want to pause this video and come back when you're done, but simply taking some time to reflect, ideally journal, because I find that when you're journaling, you kind of get in the flow of journaling, meaning you're not like fully like thinking there's like another part of you that takes over, and it's like this free form writing that just wants to flow through you, and there's often so much wisdom there. And that's why I'm obsessed with not just like typing or even thinking about something, but actually journaling it out. So just taking some time to reflect on what are some of your beliefs around money, right? If this is hard to kind of think of like, what are my beliefs? Like, think of things when you were a kid that maybe you heard your parents say, right? And even now you might think that you don't have those beliefs, but when you dig a little deeper, they are often rooted in the belief, whether it's the belief that your parent had or the meaning that you created around that belief, right? So I know one for me, one that comes up a lot with women that I work with, is definitely the belief of you need to work hard to make money. And, let's just chat about that for a second, because I want to dispel this, because I always say, if that belief were 100% true, then all of these people busting their butts, working 2, 3, 4 jobs wouldn't be barely making ends meet for their families. Okay. They would be millionaires. All right. So Again, looking at these stories, looking at these beliefs, looking at what is true for you, and then simply asking, is this true? Right? Just even asking, how is this belief making me, show up in my life? How is it serving me or not serving me? Again, kind of the same idea that the mind is always wanting to keep us safe. Okay, so sometimes we think a belief is serving us, but then we get really clear about it, or we kind of like open up the view a little bit and we see, oh, I thought that this was keeping me safe, or like the mind, right? Again, this is all happening like not necessarily conscious to us. So the mind thinks that it's serving us, it's keeping us safe, it's protecting us in some way. But then when we actually think about it and reflect on it, it's actually not serving us at all, right? So, maybe some of your overspending habits, maybe your avoidance of looking at bank statements or credit card statements, right? Maybe you're having a hard time even getting your finances in order because you're like, that would require you to open your banking app, and you just get such like a pit in your stomach even thinking about that, or a worry, or again, whatever that looks like. And I know this can kind of be a little bit more challenging to do on your own. Sometimes it definitely helps to have a guide to support you in doing this, but truly just taking some time to reflect on this, creating, some safety for yourself. And what I mean by that is just deep breaths, okay? Not judging yourself, not judging. I don't care how in debt you are right now, or whatever your financial situation, or if you have like 63 cents in your bank account, okay? It is okay. You are going to get through this. You have made it this far. You have the power to change your circumstance, okay? So take a deep breath with me and let it out. And if you want to take another one, go ahead and let it out. Okay? And this is so important because throughout this journey, throughout this year, or however long this takes for you, you are going to need to regulate your own nervous system when it comes to your finances. So again, it's, people often say like, just feel the fear and do it anyway. And yes, like there is some truth to that, but that fear, that feeling of the fear, right? Because logically, you might be like, why am I actually afraid to look at my bank account, right? But it's not that you're afraid to look at your bank account. It's like, it's that feeling is so intense. And it's that feeling of fear that like stops us. Again, the brain, it's not necessarily computing like, oh, this doesn't make sense that I'm afraid to look at my bank account, right? Like I'm not being chased by a lion, but that feeling of fear in your body, like may as well be as if you were being chased by a lion. So the brain gets into, problem solving mode, and it stops you, or it does whatever it does that is specific to your operating system, whatever you do based on, again, patterns and programs that you've developed since you were a kid, and it acts accordingly, or it doesn't act, or it avoids, or it closes the computer and turns on Netflix, whatever, again, that looks like. But when you can breathe, when you can regulate your own nervous system around this, know that you are safe, that you get to control how you feel, that you get to be in control of the next steps and actions that will, be able to change and transform your finances and how you are able to show up and, just be able to like approach money and deal with money in a way that feels easier, so that you can make the changes with your finances that you need. And I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this part because this is a huge part. if you can, again, continue to do the work, understanding the money stories, understanding that they are just stories. Okay. I work with clients who, I know they're all just stories, because when one client comes to me with one story and then another client comes to me with like the same story that's like the exact opposite, right? So for example, I might have a client who has shame around growing up with a lot of privilege and then having and a lot of financial privilege and really, in a wealthy family. And then I have another client who has shame around not having enough money or not growing up with enough money, right? So how could both of those be true, right? They're just stories. They're just situations and your experiences that you have created some sort of meaning around. And again, I'm not trying to diminish your experience. That is not my intention, but it is really truly just seeing, okay, I can choose to see this story in a different way. I can choose to see the lesson. I can choose to, find the lesson. I can choose to see how this, I don't want to say benefited, because you might be like, there's no way this has benefited me. But, what is, even lesson sometimes feels challenging. What are you meant to like learn and grow from, from this place? And it really gets to be that simple. And I will say this in all of my videos, if you watch multiples of these, approach this with curiosity. When you get curious, it doesn't feel as scary. And when it doesn't feel as scary, the mind doesn't like instantly look for resistance or like want to put up resistance or feel threatened, right? So when we're just getting curious about, that's an interesting story, or that's an interesting thing that I do, that's an interesting way that I choose to spend my money. That's, it's interesting that I do that, right? Like the more you do that and you bring a curiosity to it and almost a lightness to it, it will make it easier to approach and deal with some of these things in your life around money and finances that may currently feel really heavy and challenging. Okay. So again, wherever you are, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All right. Just breathe. You've made it this far. Anything can change. You have that power. Okay. Do not underestimate that. Dig deep for that. It is there. And that is also part of this journey. I believe that everything that we are confronted with is partially the thing that we're dealing with and partially us digging deep to our own like wellspring of power and energy that is infinite. And I believe that that's part of our journey, is unlocking that and really tapping into that. And I believe that there's really not very many people on this planet that have been able to do that. And I think that we're moving into an age where we're all going to see what we are actually capable of. Okay, I digress slightly, but I just wanted you to know that. All right, so let's talk about let's talk about just making it really easy with your finances, because we're talking about using manifestation to achieve your goals. And this specific one is about saving money, just being more intentional with your spending, getting your finances in order. And really, again, this is going to be about doing the things that feel hard and regulating your nervous system around money. When it comes to saving money, noticing, why do you overspend, right? Like, okay, so let's back up here a little bit. What if, and again, I love using this what if, like, let's just get curious. Let's just make it super simple and tangible. What if you could, be a little gentler with yourself around like your judgments of money? Like, you probably have some shame, some guilt, some frustration, maybe bigger emotions, anger and resentment around money right now. Around, like, maybe you're like, oh, why do I keep buying things? Like, I can't afford them. I keep putting things on my credit card, and then I feel really guilty that I spent the money. And now I'm stressed and frustrated because I can't pay my credit card. And, right, like it's just like a huge snowball effect because we're just like stuck in it. Okay. So first I want you to just take a step back and just notice how absorbed and how easy it is to get absorbed into that story. Okay. I know that that's super easy because you're probably there, and it's like easy to get activated when I'm talking about it. But I want you to now step back, breathe, and just notice it is what it is. Okay. It is what it is. Right. And again, I'm not trying to dismiss it, but like, let's just meet the moment for what it is. Okay. Without judgment. This is the key in using manifestation to achieve any goal. This is the key with manifestation, in my whole opinion, is releasing the judgment. Okay? Stop beating yourself up about it. It is what it is. And now is a new day. We are at like ground zero, fresh start, 0 point. Now is a new day. And you get to choose a new path. Okay? So in choosing that new path, we're going to remember, like, we're going to be super aware of our patterns, our stories, right? We're not ruminating in them. We're not judging them, but we're just going to be aware of when I'm online or when I'm feeling stressed, sometimes I buy something, right? Like whatever your stories are. I don't want to kind of make things up for you. But just noticing that, okay? And again, we're not getting caught up in them. You're just noticing them. You're not judging them. You're like, oh, that's interesting that I do that, right? So now simply what I want you to do is hold the vision of you 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. Your debt is paid off. You just feel so much more at ease with your finances. You don't dread looking at your credit card statements. You don't fear opening the mail. You don't fear opening your bank statement. You maybe like graciously give of your money because you have more than enough and you want to give back, right? Whatever that vision looks like for you. Again, if you want to pause and come back to this or do this after this video, I want you to simply hold the vision of what that looks like, okay, for you. And this is key. I want you to hold the vision of that so deeply, so clearly that you feel the emotional connection to that vision, right? Sometimes when I am holding a vision and I can feel a deep emotional connection to it, I literally cry. Like this has not happened in real life, yet the vision is so clear and so in alignment with what I deeply desire that it brings me to emotion. It brings me to tears, right? Like tears of joy, tears of gratitude, tears of peace. Again, that is what I want you to practice tapping into, because when you can connect the higher, the elevated emotional state with your vision, it starts to like get the brain into action to make this come into your reality. The brain doesn't actually know what is like a memory, what is a future vision, or what is happening right now in your 3D reality. So when you can really tap into this vision with this heightened emotional state, it makes it that much realer for the brain, right? And then the brain is just looking around for ways in which that vision is true in your life. And that starts like bring little pieces here and there, and ultimately, if you can keep doing that, keep holding that vision while taking aligned action, which we'll get into next, that is how ultimately you manifest things into your life. Okay. And, I know people talk about like vision boarding and affirmations and things like that all the time. And if that is your thing, like go do that, do whatever feels good to you, and also do these things, because this is really what is going to like solidify you actually consistently showing up and taking the tangible steps to achieve this. Okay. And again, we're doing the visioning work because it makes it easier. That's like the easiest way that I want to describe it. Without the vision work, it's like you lose sight. I shouldn't say you lose sight. It's easier to forget what you're working on. So for me, like the vision work is like, that's just what I'm working for. I'm attaching this emotional state. I know what's there, and now I'm grounding it in. I'm integrating the work, the action to get there. Okay? So they work in tandem with one another. Okay? People who just say like, I envision like $10 million and it just like falls through my roof onto my bed. Like, granted, that has not happened to me. All right. It doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. I'm totally open to magic and miracles, believe me. But maybe it's because I don't envision that every day. I don't know. But I'm just kind of like bringing some humor to it because I really want you to take the grounded action. With the grounded action, you also, again, tap back into how powerful and capable you are. And that feels so freaking good. Do not underestimate how good it feels to show up in devotion to yourself, to your commitments, and to what you want. Okay? That always changes your life. Okay? Especially like I was sharing this kind of with like a working out example. Yes, people are proud that they lost the weight. People are proud and excited that they look and feel better, but they're really proud that they showed up for themselves and they put in the work every day. Like that, like we underestimate the commitment to that. We underestimate how good that feels. Okay, so then let's talk a little bit more tangibly here. So one thing that I am doing this year is one of these no buy challenges. And I had the stomach bug at the end of my kids' holiday break. So I guess a couple of days after New Year's. And I was on YouTube and somehow I like started seeing all these like no buy, these channels completely devoted to not spending, to a very minimalist lifestyle. And while I do not feel the need to go all in on that lifestyle, I was very intrigued by this. And part of my personal intention is just, I have 2 young kids and I look around at all of the stuff we have in our house and we literally could not need another thing, right? I want this year, I'm purging things, I am decluttering, I am reorganizing, and I don't want to bring a lot of stuff into our home that like we just don't need. And it's better for the environment, right? There's all these things, and those are all like some of my personal beliefs, and maybe they match yours, maybe they don't, and it doesn't matter, whatever your beliefs are. But a very tangible, grounded step for me is I am writing down every day exactly what I spend. And my husband and I used to track our spending in an app, and then the app kind of changed and we didn't like the platform as much and we haven't found something. But what I found we were doing is we would often not track it daily. And then we would like kind of at the end of the month or even the next month, just fill in what we spent. And it really wasn't a good way to budget because you're just filling in what you spent, and we weren't really holding ourselves accountable to our budget. And therefore it wasn't really helping with the way that we were spending and it really wasn't helping us save anymore. So this way, handwriting, I literally am using, I found like a spiral notebook of my kids that had like one page colored on it, and I'm just keeping that out, by my back door on a little table where we drop keys. And I'm just writing the date, I'm writing the description of what it was, where we got it from, a category, and the price. And every single day, it's just out and there and ready for me to track. Also, when you write with a pen or pencil on paper, studies show that it hits in your brain differently than when you were just typing something out, right? So it's like the act of doing that, for me, almost like makes it more real in a way, right? Like obviously the money leaving my bank account is making it real, but it's bringing more awareness to what I'm spending. Now, you might hear no buy and think, oh my God, I could not do that. That sounds super restrictive. I talk a lot about restrictive things that feel restrictive in the weight loss video, but the same holds true with this and spending. When we feel like we are restricting ourselves, again, depending on your programming, depending on the beliefs that you have, your body may get into like overdrive, like I'm being restricted, fear, scarcity, lack, right? Mind gets into overdrive and it's going to resist because now it's fearing something, okay? And I know it sounds so illogical the way that our minds work, but it just is what it is, okay? So in doing this, the no buy it doesn't mean you are never going to spend $1. For me, it means I love buying. You can see I have a ton of books. I mean, that's like a small, just like image of what's in here. I love buying books. I love spiritual books. I love buying books. For me, I'm like, you know what? Do I need to always buy a new book? Can I get it from the library, right? It's little things like that. I do not mind spending money to go out to dinner with my family. But do I need to always buy takeout? And the food is mediocre. And my other intention this year is to eat more healthy, nourishing meals at home, right? So it's when I change my mindset and think of how I am benefiting from, not spending the money, it doesn't feel like resistance. It doesn't feel like this thing that's going to be hard. Of course, I'm going to buy my kids, like my daughter has already outgrown her school shoes this year and I need to buy her another pair, right? Like, of course I'm going to do those things, but I don't need to just spend and buy something on Amazon every time like I get the whim or the idea or see something. It's like, no, you don't need that thing. And I feel like I'm already good about, like, I don't have a Stanley. I don't have, some of these things. So again, in doing some of this deeper inner work, why do you feel like you need the next Instagram trend or the next influencer trend or whatever it's called, right? Money and worth are so deeply connected. And not just money, the material things that we buy, right? We think we're going to be happier when we have more money. We think we're going to be happier when we have the next influencer trend, Stanley handbag, I don't know what. We think we're going to be enough when we get that thing, right? It's so deeply ingrained in our worth and most of us don't even realize it. So again, when you can do the work to understand those stories, understand why you're spending, okay? And then be like, oh, I don't actually need to do that. Or maybe you come to the realization like, holy cow, I need to do a lot of work because all of my purchases are tied to me feeling like I will be better if I have this. Okay? And I'm saying this so incredibly lovingly. You are already enough, and you will not feel enough just by buying the next thing, because I know you buy it and it doesn't make you happier. It's not making you feel the way you want to feel. So now the next shiny thing has come along and now you're buying that, okay? And now you're in debt and now you feel like crap because of that, right? So let's just change all of that. You don't need anything. Okay? You are enough and you are perfect and you are just like lovely exactly as you are. All right? So maybe a no buy challenge might be something for you. Maybe you're not, totally ready to like go all in on that. Maybe you're just like, I just need to see where I'm spending, where I need to cut back. Are you tracking your expenses? Okay, these are the tangible, grounded things that you can do. Start today. Sometimes it's so overwhelming to even think of like having to go back to beginning of January. I don't care. I'm filming this video on January 10th. Whenever you're watching this, start today. Start tracking your expenses, just like I did, in a notebook with a pen. Maybe you don't have a notebook, you have a piece of paper around, right? Like just start. Don't overcomplicate it. Start tracking your expenses while also being mindful of, okay, what do I not need, right? How can I like choose to eat at home instead of get a takeout meal, right? Whatever that looks like. Do you have 5 bottles of moisturizer in your cosmetic drawer, but you don't love them and you want to buy something else? Can you just actually get through those until you buy another $40 bottle of moisturizer or whatever that looks like? Again, like thinking of it, holding the intention, again, always holding that vision, that deeper why, is going to get you through, because it's going to be hard sometimes to change these patterns and behaviors and this like, I deserve to have a $40 bottle of moisturizer. Yes, of course you do, right? Like we're so deserving of everything that we want. And it's also okay to just be okay with what you have while you get your finances in order, while you work on spending less money. All right. So the no buy challenge is an option. Tracking your spending is an option. What are things that you're doing right now that are simply not serving you? Thinking of, tracking your spending always shows you where the gaps are, right? Tracking your spending will show you if you are spending way too much money eating out, if you are spending way too much money like going out with your girlfriends and having drinks. And again, I'm not trying to like ruin your life or make you not have fun, and that feels really scary, but you track your expenses and see. Maybe going out with your girlfriends and having a few drinks is a huge value for you because it fills you up and it's really important and it feels really good to you. Okay, beautiful. Where are you spending in other areas that you're like, I don't need to do this, right? Maybe your shopping habits or whatever that may be. Track your spending. Make it super easy. And then next and final thoughts for this, and I'll do some more videos, but I don't want to make this one so super long because I know it can feel like a lot, is simply choosing to slow down, simply choosing to, like, I want to say get off the hamster wheel is kind of what's wanting to come through me. When we can just slow down and bring more mindfulness and awareness to what we're doing and how we're showing up, it's easier for us to see how we are rushing through the day, how we're and I don't believe that buying a coffee out is like going to make or break your wallet, but in little ways, like, are you rushing through your day so much that you could make a coffee at home and slow down and be more intentional and feel really good as you start your day? And now you're going through your day and you're like, oh, I actually feel really good. I'm starting to have more energy. I don't need to get a takeout meal. I'm feeling energized enough to go home and make a really healthy, nourishing meal at home that's actually going to make me feel better than the takeout meal that's full of crap and junk anyway, right? Like, do you see how it kind of can all fit together to make you kind of holistically feel better? And I think that that's really part of my intention, because it's, I believe in the mind, body, soul connection, and it's not just one thing we do. One thing impacts the other, which impacts the other, and it's this whole mix of things that really makes us feel better. And when we feel better, that is when we ultimately make the changes that we want to make in our life, that we show up differently, that then, maybe you're feeling really good and now you're like, okay, I've saved money, I've done these things, maybe you've started investing money, whatever that looks like. And now you're like, you know what? I feel so darn good. Now I'm going to apply for that job that last year at this time I didn't feel like I was good enough for. I didn't feel like I was going to get that job, but now I feel really good. And you apply for it and you get it, and now you're making, 20 grand more a year. Now what can you do with that money, right? Or maybe now you're feeling really good and you're like, I'm going to start a little side hustle, or I'm going to start a podcast, or whatever that looks like. And then maybe there's a way that you can monetize that if you want to, right? So you can see how all of this fits in, but it really starts with doing some of the deeper inner work around, again, regulating your nervous system around money, holding the vision and intention and emotional connection to what your life looks like when your finances are where you want them to be, and then taking that aligned action to get you there. Okay, I said that was going to be my last thing. This is actually my last thing, okay, because this is such an important principle in manifestation, and especially when it comes to money. And I hinted a little bit about this, or I guess this is one part, and it's that releasing the judgment around it, right? Releasing kind of the emotional attachment, right? That's part of the letting go process, and letting go is a big thing in manifestation. And I also want to add, there's kind of like a letting go emotionally, right? Like there's that release. I also want to talk about the surrender part of that, right? Show up, do what you can, show up consistently for this intention and for this goal of yours, right? Holding that vision and surrendering to feeling like you need, like we get so caught up in like, I need to make this happen. It's all on me. I have to control this. I have to fix this, right? We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. But can you surrender a little bit, right? Can you simply, again, holding that vision and trust that it all is working out for you, because it is. Trust yourself, trust the process, trust in a higher power that is supporting you and wants you to live with the sense of freedom that you want, right? The financial freedom and the ease and the peace of mind that you want, right? Kind of surrendering and letting go a little bit, right? People think like, how do I surrender and show up, right? You're still taking the action, but you're just letting go of the stress and the worry, and you're trusting that it is all going to work out, right? That is the co-creation. You and the divine co-creating, you taking action while simultaneously surrendering and trusting and having faith that it's all being worked out for you as well. Okay, I am leaving you with that. I hope this has been helpful. Leave me a comment. I will definitely do more videos specifically about finances. So definitely drop a comment if you want more, if there's something very specific that you have a question about. I would love to answer that in video form. But I hope you have a beautiful day, and remember, just breathe. Everything is going to be okay. I'll see you next time.